Well, welcome to another edition of Career Conversations. I'm Herda-Rapp, the campus executive at UW-Stevens Point at Wausau. And joining me today is Mark VanderKooy. Mark is an engineer, and I'm going to introduce him and have him tell us a little bit about himself first. Mark?
Sure. Thanks, Ann. So my name is Mark VanderKooy. I'm currently a product development engineer with Greenheck Fan Corporation here in Schofield. So a little bit about my background. I graduated from high school in 2006 from Wittenberg-Burnwood High School. Quite a time before that, I knew I wanted to get into engineering. So to start that path towards that career, I did my first 2 years of college at UW-Marathon County at that time, and then transferred to UW-Madison, where I completed my undergrad in engineering. And I graduated from college in December of 2010. And have been at Greenheck since then, so just over 10 years, majority of that time in product development engineering roles. So typical day for me is really involved in designing and developing new product, maybe troubleshooting issues with existing product, working on new product enhancements and that type of thing.
Cool. Good. Well, we'll get into some of those details, I think, as we go along. So
Sure.
Let me start, Mark, by asking, when and how did you discover your purpose? Like, how did you discover that you're interested in this career?
Sure. If I think way back to when I was a kid, I was interested in tinkering with things, building things, taking things apart. So if I think way back early in my childhood, even a lot of like the toys and things I played with were focused around that, designing, building, creativity, and that type of thing. And further along in my childhood, my dad was always working on different projects in the garage. It seemed he always had something he was working on. And that's really where I got interested in how mechanical things work, how they function, designing those types of things. So that's really where I got that interest early on. And then as I advanced through school and had more opportunities to learn about different career paths and different options, that's when I really started to focus in those interests. And that's when I kind of knew I wanted to pursue engineering as my profession.
So then what was your path to this career and then through it, like to where you are now?
Sure. Like I said, I knew at a young age I wanted to do something engineering based. So, if I think back to like middle school and high school, when I had opportunities to learn about different careers, I was always looking at different types of engineering. And engineering is such a broad field. There's so many different disciplines within engineering that there's a lot of choices to select from. So, I tried to do a lot of research when I had those opportunities to learn about different career paths and different majors that would lend me or lead me to different career paths. And kind of through that research, I really focused in on mechanical engineering specifically, which is what my degree is in. And then I was fortunate to have a dad who had an industrial engineering degree, and I have an older brother who's also an engineer. So once I got to high school and started thinking more seriously about what I really wanted to do, they introduced me to different people who talked to me about different career options in engineering. And that's what really kind of led me to focus in on mechanical engineering specifically.
Good. Could you maybe tell us, because some of the viewers might not know about all of the different kinds of engineers that there are and some, the range of options?
Sure. Just to kind of touch on that a little bit. So I'm a mechanical engineer, which I would say is one of the more broader engineering disciplines. Mechanical engineers are generally focused on mechanical type design, as the name implies. So a lot of times their focus is on designing and developing new products for organizations from a mechanical perspective. As an example, Greenheck manufactures air movement and control devices, so things like fans and dampers and louvers, which obviously pertains closely to mechanical engineering. There's other forms of engineering, electrical engineering. So someone like that might work on smaller electronic devices. They might work for a utility company, working on distribution of electricity. Computer engineering, which is closely related to computer science. There's things like chemical engineering, So there really is a lot of different engineering disciplines, and some of them aren't even that closely related. So a lot of different opportunities in engineering, depending on what your interests are. But really, I think at the core of any of those disciplines is kind of a desire to understand how things work and improve on designs. And really that comes back to problem solving and kind of this iterative design process. So I think regardless of what discipline an engineer is, those core competencies are really what's important and what kind of drives people to pursue engineering.
So Mark, is a bachelor's degree required to work as an engineer, and is anything else required?
Sure, good question. For the most part, yes. At Greenheck, as an example, I believe all the engineers have bachelor's degrees. So that's the most common approach, is to have at least a bachelor's degree. And then obviously there's postgraduate options from there. But yes, and one of the things a bachelor's degree allows you to do is it does allow you to pursue a professional engineer license, which is basically a credential that you can get after you graduate. You have to take a few exams in order to earn that. And that allows you to work on some projects and basically kind of sign off on work from an engineering perspective. So depending on the type of role that you have, that may be required, and it does take a bachelor's degree to be able to pursue that.
Okay, great. Is that the ABET exam?
That is not. So there's actually, to touch on that high level, there's two exams required to get a PE. First one is called the FE, which is a Fundamentals of Engineering exam. Most engineers take that either kind of their last semester of college or shortly after they graduate. And then kind of depending on your situation, it's usually 5 years after that you take what's called the PE, which is a professional engineer exam. So similar to the FE, but just more involved. So you take that again, typically after working as an engineer for 5 years. And then if you pass that, you can apply for your PE license.
Good. Okay. Well, some of our viewers might not know that we now offer an Associate of Science degree in pre-engineering. So what it does is it offers, and this wouldn't have been available when you were here, but it offers the core engineering courses that a student needs then to transfer into any number of different ABET accredited engineering programs.
Sure.
So, and to meet their gen eds and to start their major classes. And so that's a real recent change.
Okay.
You mentioned problem solving, but are there other qualities or attributes that you think a successful engineer needs to have?
I mean, I think that's at the core of it, is that problem solving capability. And then in addition to that is just good, solid technical skills. So for mechanical engineering, that's good technical knowledge in math and applied science. For other engineering disciplines, those areas of technical focus can be a little different, but there's, for the most part, there's an area of technical focus. And then a lot of times I think one of the core competencies is good hands-on skills. In most engineering disciplines, like I said, we might be designing, developing new products. So a lot of times that's an iterative process. We might be designing prototypes and then doing some tests on them to see how they perform for their purpose. And then based on that, we might go back and redesign. So I think a good balance of analytical and hands-on applied skills is important as well.
Good. So what you started to talk a little bit in the beginning, I think, about what an average day looks like. Maybe not for every engineer, but on your job, what does a typical day kind of look like? Sure.
It obviously varies some. Typically, I have at least one large new design project I'm working on. That project, depending on the day, might involve some testing, might involve some analysis of test data, might involve assembling some prototypes so that we can do some analysis on those. At Greenheck, we obviously manufacture a lot of product too. So part of my role is interacting with manufacturing if they have questions or problems with the design, or suggestions or ideas of how to improve an existing design. So, that's a big part of it. The other part is, since we do sell a lot of product, we have customers who have different technical questions on our products as far as how they might perform, how they should be installed. Sometimes we have our product that gets installed and the customer might have some issues with it because of how they installed it. So they might ask for our help in kind of troubleshooting. So those are kind of the things I do on a typical daily basis.
Good. If you were to offer some advice to somebody that was thinking about this career or just starting in the career, what would your advice be?
Sure. So if I think of someone who might be in college or kind of getting to the end and just getting ready to enter a career in engineering, one of the things I would encourage them to think about is to kind of think broadly in terms of the opportunities they have. And what I mean by that is, when I was in school, I think of myself and even a lot of my friends, you'd get very focused on working for a particular company or in a particular industry. But with engineering, there's just so many opportunities out there. There's so many different types of companies that have engineers. And like I was mentioning earlier, kind of regardless of what product you're working on or what company you're working for, kind of the core competencies and the core parts of the job are the same. So, just think broadly about the different opportunities that are available, the different types of companies that have engineers, and think about how those opportunities fit into what you want to do in your personal life too. Maybe you have a desire to live in a certain location or that type of thing. So, just weigh all those things in your decision making as you kind of transition from your academic career to going to work.
That's really good advice, because to just think broadly in general, right? Our careers are long, and if we're open to it, can be really varied as well. So.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Is there anything that you wish someone would have told you before you entered college and before you started on this path?
Sure. I think the advice I just gave, I wish somebody would have told me that a little more bluntly. So to kind of circle around on that, one of the opportunities you'll have as an engineering student is that companies will hire students to work as what's called interns or co-ops. An internship is where you go and work for a company for a summer. A co-op is when you go work for a summer and a semester of school. So you're at that company for about 8 or 9 months. When I was in college, there was a particular company that I really thought, I want to work for this place. So I interned for them for 3 summers and really kind of put all my focus on going to work for them. And when I graduated in 2010, we were kind of right at the tail end of the economic downturn. A lot of companies had hiring freezes, so they weren't hiring any new employees. So there weren't any opportunities for me to go work for that company. So I remember sitting there, kind of my last semester of school thinking I need to look for a job, but I only have experience with this one company. So there's other companies that I wish I would have pursued some internship or co-op opportunities with. So, I think just as a way to kind of apply the advice I previously gave, look for different opportunities. I mean, it's the cool thing about internships and co-ops is there's really no other point in your career where you can just pick up and say, I'm going to go try to work for this place for 3 months or 9 months and see how I like it. So take advantage of those opportunities. The other advice I would give, or I wish someone would have told me, is that you're in college for a relatively short period of time. When you're 17 or 18 years old, 4 to 5 years might seem like forever. But I really focused on trying to get done with school as quick as I could so I could get out into the workforce. So the first 4 or 5 semesters, I took either 17 or 18 credits every semester. I didn't do a co-op through school because I wanted to finish as quickly as I could. And looking back on that, I wish I would have took a little less course load those first few semesters just so I could focus a little more on the courses I did take. I wish I would have done a co-op just to spend a little more time with a company and maybe work for a different company during school. Because looking back on it, going to school another semester or two, that's only 6 to 12 months out of your college career, when after that you have 30 plus years to work. So, don't get too hung up on trying to finish in a real short period. take advantage of the opportunities that are there for you during your college career.
Good advice.
Thanks.
From someone that, in my perspective, is a little longer in the tooth, I would say the same thing. Yes, because you're going to work a good long while. So enjoy the stuff before. That's sometimes hard for students to do because they're very debt conscious, which is not such a bad thing, right?
Yep.
And they're wanting to get on with their lives. So it's certainly understandable, but.
Yep. Yeah, it is. Especially with the cost of college today and student debt's obviously a big conversation that's going on in our nation. Yeah, it is important to be conscious of that too. Absolutely. But I also think it's important to take advantage of the opportunities there during that time. Obviously, don't be frivolous with your time there. And don't necessarily spend more time than you need to, but just take advantage of the opportunities that are there, I think is important to remember.
Good. Is there anything else about your path or your experience that you want to share with us that I didn't ask you about?
Sure. Nothing in particular. I think we covered a lot of good things. Just looking back on it, and looking on my career so far, engineering was definitely the right choice for me. I have a career and a job that I enjoy, and I get to do neat stuff on a daily basis. Get to design new product and test it, and learn from that, and just keep improving it. So I get to put my problem solving skills to work every day. So it was a good career choice and the right career choice for me. And I just think for someone who might be considering it, look for opportunities to learn about it. If you're in high school or if you're in college, early in your college career and still thinking about other options, there's a lot of people willing to help you learn about the different opportunities that are there. A lot of companies offer opportunities to job shadow, for a half day or a day and learn about different career options. So if it's something you think you're interested in, learn more about it and see if it's right for you. And if it is, go and pursue it, because I think there's a lot of opportunities for engineers. There's so many different fields. There's engineers, in every location throughout the country. So it's a good career path, and I would encourage someone who's interested in it to go ahead and pursue it.
Yeah, one thing we didn't talk about is like the hiring expectations, the forecasting for hiring and engineers. Like it's a hot field. So someone would see a lot of opportunities in each of those areas of engineering. So.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's been a good field to get into, the last 10 plus years since I've graduated. And even I talked about graduating kind of at the end of the economic downturn. I was fortunate I was able to find a job, and there were job opportunities for engineers, because that wasn't the case for all careers at that time. So even when the economy wasn't good, there were still opportunities for engineering.
Right. We came out in the middle of the Great Recession, right? So there were a lot of people who came out of college and didn't find jobs right away out of college in the Great Recession.
Yes.
Hopefully most of us, aren't going to live through another Great Recession or the Great Depression, but to be able to come out and still get a job, that's something.
Yeah, it definitely is.
Okay. Well, I appreciate you taking the time, Mark, to talk with us and to share your experience. It's been really helpful. I think students that are thinking about engineering as a prospective career will get something good out of this.
Good. Well, thanks for having me.
All right. Well, so thank you for our viewers too for tuning in. I'll remind them that if they have any suggestions for other careers that they want us to explore, they can send those suggestions to our dedicated email, career.conversations@uwsp.edu. All right, so we'll look forward to our next conversations coming up soon. Have a great day, Mark, and thank you.
Thanks.